Hello. I'm shooting this tutorial to try and help some of the parents out there who are now working with their kids in math much more than they ever planned to, and wanted to see some of the materials that we use in class and to learn about some of the strategies that we most often use to help the kids with math. So I'm going to try and scrunch a lot of information into a little bit of time because I all know your time is precious and you need help quick. So basically, when kids are doing addition and subtraction problems, they follow a progression from being in a very concrete stage to being able to use mental math strategies to solve problems. So when you're in the concrete stage, you need to represent abstract ideas with physical pieces, with physical things. So in this stage, if you were to have a word problem, like so and so had 6 books and someone gave them 5 more, how many books do they have now? You'd have to have some kind of a counter, like a little bear or a little um, bean or cube or something to be the 8 and the 6, because the child cannot mentally picture those amounts or understand how much those things are, and they need to see and you need to put it all together. And some of our children in first and second grade are there, and that's normal for, that's within the normal range of where they are. So a counter could be really anything. The idea is then to move from counters to pictures of things, and using counters and using pictures is only reasonable or efficient when you're working with small numbers, usually less than 10. Beyond that, it becomes cumbersome. There's lots of chance of error, and it takes a lot of time. So if your child is using counters and that's what they need to do now, there's really no way to fast forward to these other strategies. You got to use the counters for a while, but you can at some point ask them to draw a simple picture of that thing instead. And pictures in math, we are often saying, are not artistic and they're not detailed. They're just a representation of something. So in the case of the books, you don't want a child to try and draw a book because that would take forever and it's not helpful. So a representation could be a tally mark, could be a circle. Those are two of the most common ones. What your child will find is that when their addition or subtraction problem is using bigger numbers, let's say 13 plus 15, and they're doing lots of tally marks or circles, when they go to count things up, they'll see that they'll lose their place a lot, or it'll take a long time, or they'll make a lot of errors. And that's a time when you can start to either introduce other manipulatives or introduce some mental strategies when these strategies no longer serve them because their problems are now more advanced or too challenging to be doing this. And a lot of kids still do this with these bigger numbers. And I just saw this in class the other day, and then it's our job to give them strategies that are more efficient and that will help them more, and they'll feel better for them because it'll be faster, it'll be more accurate. They won't have to recount lots of things over and over. So they're moving from the concrete, needing to represent every number with a thing, to drawing a picture of that thing, to representing that picture with something more simple, to moving on to mental strategies. In the very beginning stages, though, the ones that you cannot skip, but you can guide them out of when it's not serving them anymore, there's also the use of a number line. And you can print these off of the internet if you think your child needs to just sort of follow along. And you can also use a ruler for that purpose, although it can be kind of confusing with all the little lines, but it's basically the same thing. And you can draw a simple number line. If they're still working less than 10 or less than 20, then a ruler will do, or something that you draw will do, and they just need to keep track because they're probably still learning that addition means going forward or getting bigger, and that subtraction means going backwards and having less. At some point, you want to move all children towards being able to group things by 10. And this can be done verbally with your child in any setting. Most children can say 10, 20, 30, but if you start with a different number like 4, then they get stuck. So the hundreds chart can be helpful for helping them learn how to add 10 to any number because of the way it's set up. So any number that you add 10 to, you're going to be jumping down just to the number below. So this can be used like a number line in terms of adding, you just go forward, and moving, subtracting, you move backward. But this is, in my opinion, more helpful because then they can easily transfer that to adding bigger numbers, because they can, once they learn that if you add 10, then you're ending up right below, or if you're subtracting 10, you're ending up right above, then they can do more challenging problems by jumping by tens. For example, and I'm going to use this problem over and over, just because it will be easier to keep track of the different strategies. 38 plus 26. And it's just kind of a good mid-range problem. It's going to be a little too challenging for some of your kids and a little too basic for others of the kids, and for a lot of them it'll be right where they are. So for 38 plus 26, you can start on 38. And then to add 26, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, where there's, again, chance of error and it takes a long time, they can jump down 2 tens and over 6 ones. So from 38, they can go 10, 20, and then add 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So to be able to use this, they need to know and believe and understand that when they jump down, it adds 10. So in the beginning, we do a lot of, okay, start on this number, now add 10. And they do a lot of just going like this, and then you have them mark where they land, mark where they started, so they can see that they're right next to each other. And we do that a lot until they realize, oh, wait a second, every time I add 10, I end up right below. And so that's something we do a lot in the beginning of the year. But if your child is not there yet, then you can do a little bit of that with them. Another thing you can just do verbally while you're in the kitchen preparing dinner or anything is like, okay, let's count by 10 starting with 4. Let's go up and let's go back down again. And in the beginning, you can do it with them. 4, 14, 24, 34, 44, 54, 64. And then when you get up to 104, you can go back down. 94, 84. And then a different time, you can try starting at 7 or 17 or starting at 27 until they really get fluidity with that, because that will help them with all of these manipulatives and all of these strategies. Once they're ready to transition away from the concrete and away from the pictures, this is a really good way to do it. And these are 2 other things that they can use for double digit, and this can even be used for really almost any problem. These are called 10 frames. So there's a frame of 10 squares, and in the classroom we have them in packs like this, and I'm sure if you wanted to, you could order these Lakeshore or online. This one is Success with the Math Coach. You could probably download a printable one and just cut it up if you have that kind of time. But they're organized by, so like a 10 frame with nothing in it is a 0, with 1 dot it's a 1, with 2 dots it's a 2, and so forth. So to represent the same problem, 38 plus 26, you pull out 3 tens, because 30 is 10, 20, 30. And this represents the number 8 because it has 8 dots. And this is 2 tens for the 20 and 6. And then to add these up, then the children would count 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And then 50, 58, and then they'd add 6 more. Really what you do a lot in the beginning of the year with 10 frames is they visualize filling in the dots on an empty frame to add them up. So if they group these together and got 50, then with this one, they would make another 10 by just visualizing, removing 2 dots, putting it there. That's another 10, that's 60. And they've taken away 2 dots and they can see that there's 4 left. So that would be 64 using 10 frames. And then the base 10 blocks that some of you picked up when we were at school. I'd be happy to go back in a week or 2 and create some more packs to give you. Or again, you could order it at Lakeshore, you could order it online. You could print out paper ones. I think it probably works best if you have like a physical thing, because kids just learn a little bit more when they're touching something. But this is this represents 100. These are tens and these are ones. So a 10 is literally 10 of these units stuck together. So these are units, rods, and flats. And then a flat is quite literally 10 of these stuck together. And so it's all proportional to each other. So with problems in the hundreds, 3-digit numbers, you can use hundreds, tens, and ones. But I'm just going to model this same problem, 38 plus 26, with 3 tens and 8 ones, 2 tens and 6 ones. The only difference from the 10 frames, of course, is this one card that has the number 8 or has the number 6, whereas here it's all broken up. But it's the same process. So if your child was solving a problem like this, then they would add the tens first, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. they would make another 10, so this is 8, and you'd want to have them write the numbers too to sort of match it all up. They could add 2 more to make another 10, so it'd be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 64. So those are things we use quite often in the classroom when we use manipulatives. And same thing with subtraction. If we were doing another